What up, peeps, and welcome back to the conclusion of my little trilogy here, if you will, my reviews or first impressions of the first three Star Wars movies, having never seen them before. This is part 3. This is for Return of the Jedi, which I just watched last night. So, I've got to say, having now seen the first 3, we are definitely going to continue watching. A lot of people have been telling me in the comments to skip the prequels or just whatever it is. A lot of people are saying just watch The Mandalorian. We plan on doing that, I will say, but we are not skipping the prequels. And I know that a lot of people do not like them, but we're going to give them a shot. And because we didn't watch them when we were kids, when I say we, I'm talking about myself and my girlfriend. We are both watching these movies for the first time. Watching them with our friends who have seen them and did watch them when they were kids. Even our friends have told us, like, the prequels are not that great, but we don't have any sort of nostalgia or anything for the original trilogy, so we have a very open mind when it comes to watching the prequels, and I imagine that we'll enjoy them at least to some degree. So we are going to continue on. I don't think that I will do individual videos like this talking about the prequels. Who knows? If you guys really, really want it, I guess let me know in the comments and I can do that. Otherwise, it'll probably just be like, here's my thoughts on all the prequels together, maybe one video. We'll see what happens. But so the original trilogy, now that I have seen all 3, I can very definitively say that my number 1 favorite from the first 3 is The Empire Strikes Back. And I do think that Return of the Jedi, in my opinion, is better than the first one, better than New Hope, but not as good as Empire Strikes Back, not even close. Empire Strikes Back was definitely my favorite of the 3. The clip that I included in my last video showing Yoda hitting R2 with his little stick is one of the funniest things I've seen in a very long time. I have rewatched that clip at least 15 or 20 times, and every single time it makes me crack up. I love that part so much. But enough talking about that one. If you want to see that video, you can go back. I uploaded it last week. So, Return of the Jedi. I enjoyed it, like I said. There was a couple things that, in my opinion, so far in the first trilogy, were the worst parts of the entire series thus far. All the scenes in Jabba's palace, or whatever it's called, in Jabba's spot, those were all really cool. I liked seeing all of the different creatures, the ones that were not CG. And then I really, really enjoyed the Ewoks and their little, like, treehouse village thing and all the forest and everything. I liked that a lot. Those are my 2 favorite. I know that's like kind of a majority of the film, but those 2 locations were definitely my favorite spots to see. But the worst thing that I have seen in the entire Star Wars trilogy thus far has been the song that the CG aliens sing at Jabba's place. That was horrible. It was so bad. And like I've mentioned before, we're watching these on Blu-ray, so these are the special edition, like, ones with the added stuff. Eventually, we'll probably go back and watch the original versions at some point, but just for the sake of, keeping things similar, we're trying to watch the Blu-rays. If you heard that little squeal, that was my cat, Zelda. She's right here. She sniffed my hand, and she got a little static shock. If the camera moves a little bit, that's her bumping the tripod with her head. So, yeah, that singing part was horrible. It was so bad. But Ryan, and anytime something really dumb happens, Ryan points out that, that they added this later, it's different in the original. Here's Zelda. So he told us that that song was added or is changed or whatever it is, so definitely more interested in watching the original, I think. That part was just so awful. It seemed so out of place. I don't know. The music in the cantina from the first one was amazing. That seemed like it was supposed to be there, but that weird song that they were singing, that did not fit in at all, in my opinion. I really enjoyed the Rancor. I enjoyed seeing him. The the Sarlacc pit, I think is what it was called. My only reference for that was the
Family Guy
one that they did, the parody of it, and of course it was Meg, which I thought was really funny. In this version, it was CG, which I didn't like. So I'm interested to see how the original looks. I imagine it'll look a lot better. And then there was one particular creature in Jabba's place, which I looked it up, and I think his name is Salacious Crumb, which is like the best name ever for an alien. But when we saw him, I was like, man, I immediately thought he looks almost exactly like a creature from The Labyrinth, which is one of my favorite movies. The Labyrinth is a movie that I saw when I was a kid, and I've watched it countless times. I love that movie, but there's these like pinkish orange creatures in the Labyrinth that can take off their body parts and take off their heads, and Salacious Crumb looks really, really similar to those. And I think from either what Ryan told me or from what I read when I looked it up, that Jim Henson was involved with Star Wars as well. I'm not sure about that, but obviously he worked on the Labyrinth. So I don't know. Either way, I thought that was just kind of interesting. But yeah, the parts of Star Wars that it kind of seems like most people really, really love and enjoy tend to be the parts that are the least exciting to me. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but just based on the comments that I've been getting on these videos, a lot of people really, really love the lightsaber duels, and they love the space battles and the ships shooting their lasers and all this kind of stuff. That is the least interesting part of Star Wars to me personally. And I think it's the main reason why I've never really given these movies a shot, is just because I knew that I wasn't really into that kind of stuff. And without watching the movies, you know, I may have assumed that that was what it was most of the time. I've seen other movies that have space battles and stuff like that, and I've just never really cared for it too much. You know, like the laser beams and explosions and all this kind of stuff. Like, explosions in movies does absolutely nothing for me. I do not care for them. I don't think that they're bad, but I don't think that they're good at all. Like, I'm just neutral on that. So when there's movies that kind of rely on that kind of stuff a lot, like I haven't watched them, but it's kind of a meme at this point. But like all the Michael Bay Transformers movies, I guess they're just riddled with with explosions. That does not appeal to me at all. So a lot of people have been commenting on these videos telling me, oh, this one's got the best space battle and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. I don't, you know, that just doesn't do it for me. So I don't know. For me, what I have enjoyed the most about Star Wars so far is just the different scenery and the different creatures and stuff like that. The spaceships are cool. I like, for the most part, that they're using like models and stuff like that. They're using camera tricks to make them look really big or whatever it is. As I've mentioned plenty of times so far, the CG I don't really care too much for. I understand that that's not in the originals. And a lot of people have been telling me over and over to just watch the VHS ones. And we will at some point. Just for the sake of these videos and watching them on our big screen TV with our friends who have the Blu-rays already, and we have a PS4 up there. This is just the easiest way and the best way for us to do it right now. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about Return of the Jedi. It was good. It definitely ended like in a good spot. I don't feel like there's like many cliffhangers or anything like that. I don't think that I can really spoil much, but you know what happens with Vader, I did not know, which I think is kind of cool that wasn't really spoiled for me. You know, there's, like I've mentioned in previous videos on Star Wars, but that like I've known a lot of things that were going to happen. I didn't necessarily know which order they happened in or which movie they happened in, but what happened to Vader is not something that I was aware of. And I think that that's pretty cool because I wasn't expecting it. You know, with all the Star Wars movies, I know that we have the first trilogy here, then the next trilogy are prequels, so obviously You know, it's not a continuation of the story, it's the beginning of the story, but they've made other movies at this point. There's multiple different TV shows, Mandalorian being one, but I know there's like some cartoon ones as well, that give you, you know, more backstory and all this kind of stuff. So I do not know right now what the final point is. I maybe assume that Return of the Jedi is the final point, but I don't know for sure. So if it is, I think that that's fine. I think that that's great. The way that it ended, I thought was really, really good. And unless something else happens that comes up, I don't see a need for them to continue on with the story. Doing prequels and doing other side stories and everything, I think is great. And I assume that that's what they're doing, but like I said, I do not know for sure. But I do think that where it ended with Return of the Jedi is a perfectly fine ending point. I thought that it was good. It wrapped everything up nicely. And like I said, I wasn't aware of exactly what happened, so that, not that it was a surprise, but it was nice to not know the ending going into it, I guess you could say. So I think that is pretty much all I've got to say about Return of the Jedi and the first trilogy in whole. I have enjoyed them, that's definitely for sure. My favorite parts, like I've said, all the different locations and the scenes that they've set up. I know a lot of these sets were built, you know, specifically to look like they're from outer space or whatever it is. I really, really like that kind of stuff. And all the different creatures, all the rubber costumes and all that kind of stuff is great. I love that stuff. So that would definitely be my favorite part of it. The lightsaber stuff, the lasers, the space battles. My least favorite, but the absolute worst, was that horrible CGI alien singing thing in Jabba's palace. That was absolutely horrendous. So with that said, guys, that is going to do it. That's going to wrap up my little trilogy here of videos. If you would like me to continue on doing this with the prequels as well, just let me know in the comments down below. If not, then I'll probably just make one video for all 3 prequel movies, and we'll just do it that way. But either way, just let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll see what I can do about that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed this. This is my first time doing any sort of like, I wouldn't really even call these reviews, but any sort of like movie type videos, my first impressions or reviews or whatever you want to call it. This is really my first time doing that. These have all been completely unscripted off the top of my head, and I feel at this point that I might enjoy doing more movie reviews. So if that's something that you'd like to see, where I actually write out a script and I try to make it a little bit more cohesive, I do think it's something that I would enjoy doing. If you guys want to see that, please let me know as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.